Well, welcome back to our members of the Spokane Camera Club. Deke, you there?
I'm here. How you guys doing?
Very good. I'm doing fine. Did you have a happy Easter?
It was very uneventful.
Uneventful. Okay. Well, probably that's good considering our situation.
I heard that if I went outside, I would be able to find hidden toilet paper all over my yard, but that didn't happen.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. All right. So we're resuming our judging. So normally we would have this as print night, and which means that we will have actual prints brought into the club, and you as the judge will be looking at the physical prints. But because of our social distancing restrictions, we have to do this via conferencing on the computer. So unfortunately, I guess digitals aren't as good quality wise versus prints, correct?
I guess it depends on the maker.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
I've seen some prints that I went, I like the digital better. Not necessarily these, but in the past.
Okay. Okay. All right. But in any case, we'll just have to do with what we've got. And so therefore, you've got all the images. You've already previewed them.
Yes.
Okay. Today, we're going to start with general color. So our first entry is Bubble Bubble.
I found this very unique and an unusual concept. My first instincts were to, how'd they do that? Okay, all right, I figured it out. That's kind of cool. Excellent depth of field, I have to say that, because this piece that's the bubble maker, the little wand thing, I guess it's mainly for kids, similar to the one that the child in the background has to his mouth, is tack sharp. And then the depth of field that was made, which basically was made by the lens choice and the aperture, I think is perfect. Because if the child was more in focus, it would have taken attention away from this wand in the foreground. And if it was much less in focus, it would have blurred out and you were trying to guess what it is. So I think whether that was done intentionally or accidental, I think it was done very, very well. I would have, if you look on the right side of this image and see how this little bubble wand is perfectly in line with the right side of the image, of the edge of the page, but the left side is not. If I were entering this in competition, bear in mind, I know this is for prints, but I have to judge it according to the digital, I would have matched that left side as well. Just to eliminate that one sliver on the left-hand side, I would have skewed that just a little. I really found this very unique. I give a lot of credit to the maker for this. Title's kind of cool, very cute, no question. Composition is a 4, impact is a 4, technical is a 4.
Bubble Bubble by Lynn Nordhagen, 12 points. Cascading Beauty.
It's a nice documentary image of this section of this stream. It's great exposure. It's tack sharp where it needs to be. I love it. This is something that I would hang on my wall. So I just really, really like it. There's a little bit of me that wants to see a little more. Not a lot, just a little. I want this. I hate using the word zoomed in or zoomed out, but in this case, I kind of have to explain it. I want this zoomed out just a little bit so that I can see more of the foreground and I can see a little more of the log at the top that's going across there. I think it would have helped it a little bit. Again, I love the exposure. Look, there's almost zero loss of details in the blacks. Shutter speed is perfect. It's at least a second, so you can see this silky water. I really like this. Composition is a 3, and bear in mind, the only reason I say it's a 3 is, where's the center of interest? My eye goes all over the place in this. Very pleasing, but I don't have some place to land, so I'm going to call that average. Composition is a 3, impact is a 4, technical is a 4.
Cascading Beauty by Donna Larson, 11 points. Our next entry is Cowboy.
I really like this. It is what I call an atypical portrait, not normal, not typical. The subdued lighting works very well for this image. It is not overlit or over processed. I would like to see the camera repositioned to have the background more fitting. Can you see what I see? So that the hat in the background is not directly behind the main subject's hat. I would also like to see a little more thought in the title, Cowboy. Really? Let me give you an example. If this was a picture of a hot rod Chevelle with a big engine coming out of the hood and the title is Car, no. Give this something that has some emotion in it. Look at the emotion in this cowboy's face. Give me something other than rock number one, which, no offense, but that's how I see it. I want to see something other than cowboy. Love the image, however. Composition is a 4, impact is a 4, technical is a 4.
Cowboy by John Stockham, 12 points. Feeding time.
Now, I want to say, since I was just talking about the title, and I'm sure the maker's probably not happy with me right now, but I want to use this as an example. Titling this one Feeding Time is a perfect title that instantly explains to the viewer what's going on. Because without that, and you came across and looked at this, oh my God, what's happening? Is that bird eating something? Having that title Feeding Time explains it to the viewer instantly and was very wise. It is tack sharp. The exposure is good. It seems to have a slight yellow cast over the entire image. And that's just, I have nothing to compare it against. I have no raw images to look at or other images to look at, but it's a very bright lit, almost noontime time of day, but it looks slightly cast in yellow to me. Composition is a 4, impact is a 4, technical is also a 4.
Feeding time by Don Burnell, 12 points. Steam Engine 19.
This, without question, is tack sharp. It is very obviously an HDR image. Great exposure. It feels cold. I would like to see this warmed up a little bit, and that can be done in a couple of different ways. It takes a while for your eye to go through this image and see two things. Number one, the fire down below, over in the middle left down there, that's causing that steam to come up top, and the man, conductor, whatever you want to call him, up top that is actually doing something to, I'm assuming, fill that car with whatever it is that comes out of that pipe or whatever he's working on. I'm not saying that's a negative thing. I'm just saying those are secondary things that you see in this image when your eye comes into there. I really like it. I love the positioning of the camera. I love the way that the light in the, I don't know what you call it, headlight of the train is. Very, very nice. I think I'm okay with the title. Steam Engine 19. I don't know if I would have titled it that. I'm okay with it. Nothing negative whatsoever. Pleasing image. Composition is a 4. Technical is a 4. Impact is a 4. Excuse me, I did that wrong. Composition is a 4. Impact is 4. Technical is a 4. Got to do it in the right order.
Steam Engine 19 by Steve Whitaker, 12 points. Time for peace, time for calm, time for meditation.
Okay, we'll talk about the title at the end of this. Nice, sharp, some wonderful reflection. It's got what I call subdued colors. It's nothing super bright, yellows, oranges, blues, greens, and that kind of adds some peace to this. It seems slightly tilted clockwise. I think just a click or two counterclockwise would have helped it just a little bit. It looks just a little lean. All the elements coming in from every direction, it's rather confusing to the eye. Would like to see slightly less tight. In other words, zoom out just a little bit so we're not so close to the top and the bottom of the tree and its reflection there. It would be wonderful, I know this is dreaming, but it would be wonderful if we had some place for your eye to land. Wouldn't it be cool if there was a little red or yellow rowboat out in the water, somewhere in the rule of thirds, or maybe even directly in the center? That would be really cool because it takes my eye all over the place. All right, it doesn't necessarily take my eye out of the image, but I don't have a place to land. Okay, title, way too long. Time for peace, time for calm, time for meditation, way too long. It doesn't need to be that long. I know people really get into the long titles, but it will not help you with this image. Composition is a 3, impact is a 3, technical is a 4.
Time for Peace, Time for Calm, Time for Meditation by Gene Alleman, 10 points. Trapped Inside.
Love the title because it explains what the maker wants you to see. Very unique image and concept. I love the, again, subdued colors. This is very rare for me to say, but I actually love the main subject centered. I think it would have lessened it had we moved that subject in the background behind the grate or the screen here to one side or the other. If you were going to move it to one side, it would have to go left because of the way that this what appears to be a mannequin is looking, but I like it in the middle. The title works and gives the viewer the maker's concept. If somebody were to say, Deke, what would you do if you took this to improve it? The only thing that I can think of that I think would have helped it is seeing some fingertips at the bottom, so that it looks like she's actually, giving a little bit even more emotion in body language. Other than that, I really like this. I think it's very unique, and it took a lot of thought process to do this and do it correctly. By the way, it is not overlit. Had they had lighting behind that grate, I think would have ruined it. I like the mysteriousness of going out into nothingness, and it adds to the trapped inside. Composition is a 4, impact is a 4, technical, I'm going to give it a 5.
Trapped Inside by Tim Lesser, 13 points. Watercolors.
Very interesting, very abstract. I looked really hard, and it does not appear to be anywhere. The exposure seems right. I don't see lots of details in the whites or the blacks, not too much anyway. What is the subject or main subject? Where does the maker want me to look? Where does the maker want me to move my eye around? Where should I land and stay there? Because I don't have any of those. I don't know where to land my eye after bouncing around this image. The title works. I'm not going to go crazy on the title, but I think it's acceptable and good. Watercolors. It does look like watercolors. Honestly, it looks like a painting more so than a photograph. I would love to see it tack sharp. I think that would help this immensely. And let's go the other direction. If not tack sharp, let's Gaussian blur this even more so that it looks more like a painting to associate with the title watercolors. Either one of those, I think, would have added to this image. Composition is a 3, impact is a 4, technical is a 3.
Watercolors by Lori Pence, 10 points. Okay, so now we're going to go to General Monochrome. Our lone entry in General Monochrome is Iguana Trail.
Very interesting. I love the shadows that really show depth in this image. And to add to that, great depth of field. When I say that is, you can see that in the center or just to the right of the center is sharp, is tack sharp. And then it falls off to the right in a smaller sliver and falls off to the left in a larger sliver, showing, in my opinion, a fairly decent depth of field. I think this would be more fitting if it were vertical. My brain says this is not positioned correctly. It needs to go clockwise 90 degrees. In other words, the right side needs to be at the bottom. The title tells the viewer what this is, and I said, nice job. I just literally think this needs to be a vertical. Obviously, no one would have known that this is made from an iguana without that in the title. So I think that was very positive. I just want to see that thing vertical. It just seems like it needs to be vertical, and I am guessing that's the way that it was intended. Composition is a 4, impact is a 3, technical is a 4.
Iguana Trail by Don Burnell, 11 points. Okay, so for the purposes of our video, we're going to move on to the subject monochrome. And our subject for the month is street photography. Our first entry in the monochrome is Alone.
Great title. It's a very moody image. I am okay with the runner not being tack sharp. It shows movement. Is the tree sharp? I'm not finding it sharp. I'm finding it semi-sharp. It's hard to tell, but I think not. I would like to see the pine tree in the center removed and the horizon leveled. This image has an enormous amount of potential. You could go back to this same spot with another runner and really add some points to this image, doing it exactly the same. I admit that I would like to see it simplified. I'd like to see that center pine, ponderosa pine in the background gone. I know it's there. I don't want you to take a chainsaw to it, but that's a two minute removal, especially with that very simple background. I think it would have simplified it and just made it a little more impactful. And I would have put that camera on a tripod and made sure that the tree in the foreground is tack, tack, tack sharp. Shutter speed's okay because you're catching the man with a little bit of movement. Those are just the things I would do to improve upon this. Composition is a 4, impact is a 3, technical is a 3.
Alone by John McLaughlin, 10 points. Artemis Pyle.
Shots such as this one are often not easy. I repeat, not. A lot of people will see concert, and I say that broadly, images and say, oh, they just went in there and snapped a picture because they've got those bright theater lights on. That's easy. Go and do it, and you'll see all the difficulties that come along with that. I love the fall off into black. I think the background behind the drummer that has the dots, spots, bolts in a piece, whatever it is, actually adds to this image. Without those dots there, it would have not been as impactful. I would like to see the left side that has a music case over here, an equipment case. That does nothing to the image. In fact, it's adding a little more to not making this directly in the center. I would take that away. So you've got an inch or an inch and a half of the left-hand side that does nothing to add to this image. I would completely remove it. By the way, may be difficult for you to see, but about, well, on the left-hand side, if you look really close, you can see a person's two hands up like this. And it looks like this is what they're doing. I think that it takes a while to see it, but that's somebody in the foreground that was caught out of the light, but you can see it. I think it's very cool. Nice and tack sharp. There's not, I mean, I guess you could, get really, really picky and say there's a little bit of overexposure in the whites, but I don't think, with the way the metal is and how sharp all of these pieces of this DW drum set are, I think it was done very well. I know how difficult it is to take this type of an image, so I give that a lot of credit. Composition is a 4, impact is a 4, technical is a 4.
Artemis Pyle by Tamara McGee, 12 points. Concentration.
Love the title. Really explains a lot. This image has massive potential. No question about it. It's nice and sharp, nice details throughout. It seems very grayscale. I don't see anything black, black or white, white. So therefore it looks a little muddy to me. I think that could have been easily fixed, either in curves, in contrast, using a green, red, or yellow filter. There's a number of ways that that could have been done. I like the composition, but I would have loved to have seen the players more clearly, especially the one that is behind the man with the ball. The rest of them I understand and I can see what's going on. It looks like there's a little bit of movement. Bear in mind, they're all pretty tack sharp, so I'm not seeing a lot of movement. But because of the positioning, you feel it. But it would have helped to be able to see the man that's directly behind the one holding the ball's head. Again, like the title. Composition 4, impact 3, technical 4.
Concentration by Terry Hamilton, 11 points. Happy to serve you.
Perfect title. That's something that I would have picked. The woman's face is very sharp. If this image had more contrast or was less overexposed to the depth of field of the soup, that looks like a soup because there's crackers and a spoon there, would not bother me so much. But because it's slightly overexposed, I guess we can kind of cheat and call it that. It's just too light on that edge. In other words, the soup she's holding is very blending in with her blouse and her body and the background there. I would like to see that changed. It's simply flat, not on her face, but everything else is. Also, the sign is coming out of her head in the background. That's distracting. This is another image that has huge potential. I think if you would have repositioned yourself probably to the left, I'm okay. I normally say never, never, never cut into someone's head, but in this case, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it being centered. I love the concept. I like her smile. Would like to see the eyes lit up maybe a little bit more, cocking of the head just slightly. Love the braided hair, the braided ponytail coming down her right-hand side. I just think those things would heavily improve this image. Composition is a 4, impact is a 2, technical is a 3.
Happy to serve you by Elaine Guidoni, 9 points. Life on the street.
This is great subject matter. It's very sharp. It's a good title. We have both overexposure and underexposure issues throughout. Also, the right quarter of this image, somewhere between a quarter and a third, is unnecessary and adds nothing to the image. That piece down there that's behind this, I'm assuming that's a woman, but I'm not 100% sure, is unnecessary and unneeded and doesn't add to it. And it's gritty feel. It makes you feel what the title's saying, but I think the overexposure on the left and in the pieces that are lighter colored is just too much, and the underexposure, especially on what looks like a backpack or a purse down below, assuming that's a her, and the hoodie and the other coat back there and the wall behind him is just too much. We need to be able to see some detail. Composition is a 2, impact is a 3, technical is a 2.
Life on the Street by Sister Madonna, 7 points. Norma.
I love the simple title. Think about that. Should it have been sax player or street music? I think Norma, very simple and to the point, really explains some things. And look at her age. Look at those hands. This woman is not 20 years old. Norma typically is not a 20-year-old name either. I think it's very appropriate. It's tack sharp. It's well exposed. Would like to see this reframed so that her toe is in the scene and the man in the background left is not cut in half. Other than that, I really, really like this. Composition is a 4, impact is a 4, technical is a 4.
Norma by Erica Jones, 12 points. Right on, dude.
I love the title and the expression. I mean, doesn't it look like he's saying, right on, dude? It does. So I think that's excellent. It wouldn't surprise me if the maker doesn't come back and say, you know what? He actually said that. That's why I titled that. I can see that. It makes sense. We do have some overexposure issues on the subject's skin, both on the forehead and in both hands, arm, and maybe a little bit on the neck and the upper t-shirt there. Would like to see a less distracting background. and his thumb away from his mouth. If we did those things, this thing would be really, really nice. I like it. Tack sharp. Love the grittiness and the feel, the contrast in his hair and in his face and the beard. But those things would really really improve this. Again, love the title. Composition is a 4. Impact is a 4. Technical is a 3.
Right On Dude by Greg Tenold, 11 points. Rush, Rush.
This image, another one that I'm going to say has huge potential. Probably more so on this image than any of the rest of them. I don't like the title. Look at the title, Rush, Rush. You see anybody in here that's rushing? Maybe she, the woman in the center that's coming toward us, which is the main subject, is rushing in her brain, but she's sure not looking like she's rushing, and none of these other people look like they're rushing. Okay, maybe it's Rush Hour, but I think that's a stretch. This is a title that I do not agree with. We do have a little bit of issues with overexposure and underexposure, similar to the one we saw a couple back. The blacks have lots of details in them, and more so than the whites, but the whites as well seem overexposed a little bit too. It needs to be, look at it closely and look at the buildings, especially in the top center. It needs to be just slightly tilted to the right, clockwise. Give this a little more room at the bottom because you're chopping right into her toe, and change the tilt just a hair and work on the exposure and not rush, rush. And I think it would be exceptional. Composition is a 4, impact is a 4, technical is a 3.
Rush, Rush by Greg Tenold, 11 points. Social Media.
Great title. Look at all three of those people. What are they doing? That's what everybody's doing today. They're checking their Facebook. They're talking to people online, whatever. Great title. It fits perfectly. I love the gritty and contrasty feel. I would love to see the overexposure in the whites corrected a little and the woman in the background gone. I know, she was there. And I put in here, yes, I know that this was happening at the time you took it, but it would have helped. Been there, done that many, many times. This is a wonderful image. If we did something about the overexposure and had the woman in the background gone, wow, I would love this image. I like the fact that all three of these people are looking at their phones and all doing separate things in their own little world. Again, great title. Composition, 5. How could it be any better than that? For what you have to take right there, it is stellar. Impact is a 4. Technical is a 3. And believe me, I wanted to give more. Changes that I said would take this thing easily up to a 14 or 15. So 5, 4, 3.
Social Media by David Powers, 12 points. And our last entry in subject monochrome, Something Sneaky.
It was very wise to give this image this title. I would guess it took some thought to really think of what can I title this that makes sense for what you're seeing. I give a lot of credit to that. I don't even know if I would have come up with that, and I am very impressed with the title. I love the grittiness. Do you see how gritty that looks? It almost looks like old press film for those people that go back to film days. The image speaks for itself with no faces. It is moderately flat. In other words, we don't have black blacks and white whites. Again, more gray tones. I also think it would have helped this image to reposition the camera at a lower angle and showing a little more of the legs. They're not seen due to the foreground top object, and it's kind of hard to tell what that is. Is it concrete? I don't think so. It looks like it's metal. It's got rivets in it. I have no earthly idea what it is. Is it possible that's part of an airplane? That's my guess. So there's some writing there and a little hatch. So I think this was taken on a tarmac. Love the concept. I would have liked to have seen just a little more legs and the exposures. I know it was probably purposely done that way to get the grittiness, but I'd like to see black blacks and white whites. Again, love the title. Composition is a 5. Impact is a 3. Technical is a 4.
Something Sneaky by John Lepper, 12 points. All right, so that concludes our first half We will see you in the next one.